Welcome to the Writing Gym Podcast. We're here to pump up your writing. And now your host, Andy Brixey, personal trainer at the Writing Gym.
Hi, I'm Andy, personal trainer at the Writing Gym. Welcome to CrossFit with Chef Charles Carroll. I'm excited to introduce you to this week's guest, but first, a word from our sponsor, the Writing Gym. You know, you could break free from feeling like your writing is never good enough. You could write freely and achieve your publishing dreams. You're tired of rejection and lying awake till 2 a.m. wondering how you could have fixed your manuscript. Wallowing in self-doubt is not getting you closer to your writing goals. You need real standards, real support, and real change. Are you ready to transform your writing and take it from the slush pile to publishable? We are currently accepting select writers in the Writing Gym. Visit www.writing-gym.com to apply. And now I'd like to introduce you to our resident writing coach, the gal who helps you pump your writing into shape in the Writing Gym. Welcome back to the Writing Gym Podcast, Annalisa Parent.
Thank you, Andy. It's so nice to be with you here again.
Listen, everyone, I have a fun little story about Annalisa this week. She actually spent part of this summer traveling all around America on an epic road trip. She even went to a museum of spam.
It's true. There's a spam museum in Minnesota. So on my drive back from Colorado to Vermont, we took the circuitous route and stopped at every cheesy roadside event possible. It was amazing.
We will definitely post the photo in our show notes. So check them out at www.writing-gym.com/recipe. And now to introduce you to our wonderful guest this evening. Chef Charles Carroll is an 8-time culinary Olympian who travels the world speaking on championship thinking and personal greatness. Charles won his first Olympics gold medal at the 1988 Games at the age of 24. He was then the youngest member of the team and has since participated in the quadrennial Olympics as team member, coach, and judge. He was named one of the year's Great Country in Chefs by the James Beard Foundation in 1993 and is past president of the World Association of Chef Societies with over 10 million members in 105 countries. For his work with U.S. troops in Afghanistan in 2011 and 2013, Chef Carroll was personally commended by U.S. Presidents Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. In 2013, he was awarded the Honorable Order of St. Martin by the U.S. Army. Chef Carroll currently serves as executive chef of Houston's River Oaks Country Club, the third busiest country club in the United States. And he's here today to talk about his new book with best-selling author John David Mann called The Recipe. Welcome to the podcast, Chef Carroll.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
And we're so very excited to have you here. So how does the action of life in the kitchen compare to the process of writing a book?
Well, I like the idea that I can actually be home when I'm writing the book. I can work out of my living room office and maybe have a glass of wine while I'm doing it, which is a little bit different than my work office.
Right. And I know a kitchen is a really busy place, right? You've got a lot of things going on and there's a lot of balance that needs to happen in a kitchen as far as the timing to get the plates out and that kind of thing. Is there any similarity between kind of that chaos and what your writing process was? Or was it a lot more, I don't want to say orderly because a kitchen isn't chaotic, but it's definitely busy. How did the workflow compare?
Well, you know, I think it was exciting for me because, you know, I wrote about what I knew about, you know, so even though there was a lot of truisms in the book, there was a lot of things that might have happened in my life or I've seen in my life or I experienced. It's not, you know, the book isn't about me, although there's a lot of things in there that I have seen or been a part of. So obviously my experience 17 years here at River Oaks and also my previous 2 jobs had a lot to do with the input of the book. So in that respect, it was fun and exciting to do that.
That's great. And, you know, you co-wrote this book with John David Mann, who we've had on the podcast and who will be on the podcast again. Tell us a little bit about what your book is about. What is The Recipe?
Well, it's about a boy who loses his dad at a very young age, and he gets mad at the world and mad at God, and he's just trying to figure out things and gets himself in a little bit of trouble, and then one of his dad's best friends and past coworkers sees the boy getting in trouble, and he pulls him in and starts mentoring him. So the beautiful thing about the book is each chapter is a life lesson, and each chapter they cook something, and it really shows the beauty of food, and how it is cleansing, and it's therapeutic, and it has a lot to do with life. So as you could tell, we're very excited about it.
That's really wonderful. And, we also had Bob Berg on the podcast, who has also co-written a book with John David Mann. So we know a little bit about the behind the scenes of what that experience is like. But what was your experience working with John?
Oh, he's totally high maintenance. No, I'm kidding. John's a beautiful soul, and we made an incredible team, and it's a great story how we met. I mean, I read that book, The Go-Giver. In fact, we enjoyed it. It was given to me by our tennis pro, and I enjoyed it so much I passed it to my boss, and we ended up making it a book for all our managers. And so one day I just happened to be Googling, I was Facebooking, and this was 5-6 years ago, and I saw him on there, and I just sent him a note, and all of a sudden he responded, and I was totally blown away that he responded. And we started a relationship that way. And as you probably know, John's a foodie. And so, I mean, John's brilliant. I mean, he's a brilliant author, and he's a great friend. And so we were a great team together, and seeing how he's such a foodie, that it was just a natural fit for us.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's really neat.
That's really great. And so do you actually include recipes that in your book?
We do.
Right.
So the book, it's we're hoping to, we're going to get a couple of different kind of readers. We're going to get the people anxious for life lessons. We're going to get people anxious for leadership lessons, and then we're going to get the foodies. And we've had so many people, so many fantastic reviews of people that love the book. And we've heard the comment over and over again how the food is so real. And so it was actually my wife's idea to add the recipes at the end of the book. In fact, we have some movie interest in the book as well, so we're really excited about that. But an interesting note for y'all and all the listeners is we're actually filming we're filming 8 of the recipes this weekend, and we're making mini films out of them. And John's coming in town, and we have a professional team doing the videos, and they're going to be given as bonus material for anybody who pre-orders the book before October. So they're going to be able to see John and I cooking in the kitchen and actually experience the recipes that are in the book, and also learn kind of how we came up with those recipes and why they were so important to Owen.
That's really wonderful.
That's a really fantastic and cool idea. I really like that. I have a question for you. So the book is titled The Recipe, A Story of Lost Love and the Ingredients of Greatness. What exactly are the ingredients of greatness?
Well,
spoiler alert.
I mean, the ingredients of greatness, there's kind of 2 answers to that. And that's what's so kind of exciting for the book. I mean, you have, to be a great chef, you have to have amazing passion, and you have to have great ingredients. And in life, you have to have the passion to jump out of bed in the morning, and that's the kind of the struggles that Owen had earlier on. And so that's what the chef or / chief was able to add is those those segments into life lessons that gave him recipes for success in life. So we have 2 different parallels going on at the same time, and it comes down to excellence. And I remember a comment that you are who you are when you're alone, and John came up with a great line in the book that was, how you cook is who you are. So if you cook lazy, you're gonna have a lazy dish. If you don't care about the best ingredients, you're gonna have a terrible dish. The same parallel goes along in life, so it's kind of neat.
That's wonderful. I'm really excited to read this book.
You haven't read it yet. You're not gonna be able to put it down, so make sure that you.
I know. I got to set aside some time to make that happen. So this story, it sounds like it has a lot of crossover with your life as far as the kitchen and the cooking and the recipes. Were there other elements of this book that were autobiographical, or what inspired you to write this story?
Well, I have 2 other books, Leadership Lessons from a Chef, Finding Time to Be Great, and also Tasting Success, which is written for students. And I had a really great success with those because those are leadership books. They're for culinarians on how to be successful. So as I spent a great deal of time speaking to young people. And so I love to inspire them. And I guess that's kind of where the story kind of started. I wanted to write, after writing a bunch of books that help students that are in school, I wanted to write a fun book that foodies and like you would see at the airport and that kind of thing. So that was where the thought was, that I wanted to write an emotional book, one that would take you on an emotional roller coaster, and it would touch people's hearts. That was the main reason. So that was the first point. The second point is, just started writing on what I knew about. So in the book, we talk about a brownstone in New England. My dad owned a brownstone, and he owned the dinette. My grandmother owned the building, and she's mentioned kind of in a way in the book. My mom worked in there, and my aunt worked in there, so they're mentioned in the book. And so there's a lot of things that happened that I knew about or experienced are in the book that way, which makes it more fun. There's that. Towards the end of the book, I think we list a lot of the things that were the same. The Olympic gold medals and the White House and cooking for those in need. We've done all those things.
That's great. And you talked earlier about being really excited about this book because you were writing about something you know about, and it sounds like a lot of your personal experiences informed this book as well. And in the writing world, we have this expression that's write what you know. So can you speak a little bit to that, about what that experience was for you, writing what you know so well?
Well, when I wrote the first 2 books, Leadership Lessons and Tasting Success, a lot goes into the research and the formatting and the documentation that you're using and to make sure that things are correct in that manner. Writing this one for me is so much more fun because it comes directly from the heart. So you're researching your heart and nowhere else. And then John comes back and beats me over the head and said, "Are you sure this was right?" And even today, sending me emails about time. Like, John, come on, just keep on writing. But no, so for me, this one is passionate, and man, you can really start writing a lot of pages quick when it comes from your heart. So I guess, if you're coaching your writers out there, trying to inspire some of your writers, it's just like what they say: if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And so if you write about what you love, it'll just pour out of you. And I remember a movie a long time ago, this boy being mentored. I can't remember the actor now, but the kid had writer's block. He couldn't type, and he said, just start punching keys. So if you just start punching keys and let it pour out and write about something you love, it'll come out fast.
Yeah, you've got a really good point there. One of the things that we talk a lot about in the writing gym is, there's really no such thing as writer's block. There's falling out of love with your writing and or being afraid of your writing, or any number of negative feelings that you might have around writing. But you are so spot on with that fact that when you are in love with your writing, you can't wait to sit down. I mean, that's the kind of writing that wakes you up at 2:00 in the morning and demands to be written, which just happened this last week for one of our participants. It was really exciting when she just wrote to us about that. And I can imagine that some of this process was like that for you as well.
Yeah, I think that, my experience with all three books was that sometimes it took a little while to get started. But man, once I got started and got onto a thought process, I could pour out, 10, 12 pages pretty quickly. And for me, I'm not a writer. I have three, with John's amazing. John's a professional writer. This will be my third book, but what I found myself is once I get into that mode, you got to put yourself in the right atmosphere. You gotta be comfortable in the atmosphere. You gotta be happy with that, the atmosphere. And once I started writing, it would pour out of me, and then I would have to organize it later. But I never stopped myself writing. I just pour out on the paperwork and don't worry about what it looks like or what form it's in or what page it's on. Don't worry about it. You'll worry about that later, but don't stop yourself from writing. Keep punching the keys.
Yeah. That's so funny. That's something that we talk about constantly with all the writers in the writing gym, with all the people that listen to the podcast, with everything. It's always, get it all out on the page, get it, so that you're looking at it, and then go back and edit, because you can always go back and edit, but if you don't get it out of you while you're thinking of it, what if it never comes back?
That's right. Don't stop.
I have a quick question. Did your writing process differ between any of the books? You said that the other two were, or the other books that you did were much more research-based. Was this one different when you sat down to work on it? You said the words just like poured out of you, but was there a different kind of process with that at all?
Yeah, it was. I was more free to write, and I enjoyed, remembering things with my dad and St. Johnsbury, Vermont. You mentioned Vermont, but I grew up in St. Johnsbury.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, that's awesome.
In Waterford, Vermont, that is where the country inn where I grew up in, Rabbit Hill Inn. So that my mom and dad owned that. I don't know if you know that. And then the brownstone I'm talking about is right on the corner of in St. Johnsbury. So, yeah, so that's I think there's a meat market there now, but it was right on the corner. I want to say I don't remember the streets anymore, Portland Street. But anyway, it's right on the corner of that brownstone before you cross over the bridge. And so that's where the setting is in my head. So the only difference, getting back to your writers to help you with that, and my thought process was if you come up with a concept on what it is you want to write about, try to relate it to yourself in some way. That way it'll pour out of you easier. And this, I kind of made it all about, again, it's not my story, but it's a lot about what happened to me. And I was fortunate enough when I was Facebooking John that I had, 8 chapters already done. And that was 5 years ago, I think it was. And I waited this long because John is so valuable. He's such an amazing guy that he wanted to do it. And we had a great conversation, several conversations. And so immediately we have a little joke with ourselves, but I sent him a box of some, I think it was pasta ingredients in a bottle of truffle oil.
Oh.
And so he calls me Truffle Meister, and I call him Mad Dog. And you'll have to read the book. You'll have to read the book to know why that is. But anyway. So I had the 8 chapters to start with, and then after that, John and I just dreamed, every day after that.
So we always ask one big question of everyone that comes in the podcast, and that is, if you had one piece of advice to give to aspiring authors, what would that be?
Geez, I think I gave away my biggest secret. Just write from the heart. I mean, if you're gonna write, you got to write about something you love or you have a great love of interest for. If you can't start there, then you're already starting off on a bad foot. So I mean, you got to search for things that you just have a direct passion for, and then it's not such a drag to research it if you have to research it. You know, you're genuinely vested and excited to do it. I would say that to start with. And put yourself in a really wonderful environment. You know, I'm a big stickler for light. You know, the lighting, whether it be in my kitchens, or my kitchens are specially lit. When I get home in my living room, we have dimmers. We can enjoy a glass of wine, enjoy the lighting. Lighting is really important to me. Natural lighting is important to me. Is your chair comfortable? Is it, you know, do you have any distractions? Surround yourself with your favorite things. I mean, it may sound silly, but, you know, when you got to go to the gym, you want good sneakers, you know. When you're writing, you want to be comfortable in your environment.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually haven't had anyone give that as their big piece of advice, but that's fantastic advice. That's something that people normally don't think about. They think about, oh, I'll just plop myself in front of this computer and make it work, or I'll plop myself down with a notebook, you know, in a Starbucks and hope it works. But everybody has a different happy place, and yeah. I guess you've never considered that, like, your happy place should also be your workplace.
Yeah,
that's really good advice. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So for all of our fantastic listeners, I hope that you take heed of that advice and find your own happy place to do your writing. The recipe comes out October 17th and is available for pre-order now on Amazon and everywhere else. And as you heard Chef say, they are actually doing those wonderful little mini films of all the recipes, so you guys should definitely pre-order it. For more on the book and the guest, you can go to chefcharlescarroll.com. They're also running the special pre-release offer, which you can find at the same website. We will, of course, be putting all of this information in our show notes at www.writing-gym.com/recipe. So make sure and check that out, everyone. Thank you so much, Chef Charles Carroll, for joining us. This was amazing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Hope to see you soon.
And thank you, Annalisa, for more of your great writing advice. Annalisa is the resident writing coach in the Writing Gym. She helps writers start, finish, and bring to publication writing in all genres, and is pretty much the best at what she does. And you know, you could publish if you only knew how. We've gotten some amazing tips today, writers, but look, if you love the Writing Gym podcast, and if you find these tips valuable, think of how much faster your writing will get pumped into publishing shape in the Writing Gym. We take you from generating your ideas to getting them on paper, from how to find an agent to how to properly market your book. You'll also get to connect with other writers who will support you and give you quality feedback. We even have a personal trainer, me, to help you to keep you accountable to your writing goals. You know how you always say, I love to write, but I just can't find the time. Well, what would it be like to have a gentle guide, someone to check in with you on how you're doing? Well, you can, and that's me. And if you're serious about pumping your writing into publishing shape, apply now. Go to www.writing-gym.com. Thank you all so much for joining us. Happy writing.
This has been the Writing Gym Podcast with Andy Brixey and Annalisa Parent. To join the Writing Gym, visit www.writing-gym.com.